by its own nature, if your work gets out there and it helps people in some way, if they enjoy it, then the odds go up that you get noticed as well, and that your career can build from that. I mean, that's the nature of our job. If it's successful artistically, there's at least a chance that it's also successful in some way commercially. But first and foremost is the art.
Yeah, and the value that we have to remember that on your side of the camera that you can bring to the table as an actor or an actress. Because I mean, I've seen some people just entertain me, and uh, first off, I'm wondering like, wow, like you're not right in the head, but then I'm thinking like, oh wait a minute, that was really funny. Somebody took a moment to do something really goofy. And like literally, I'm thinking about one actor who did one goofy thing in front of me back in almost a year ago now. But that was a small window that locked his image in my mind as, if I ever write something like Robin Williams ish, that's the guy because he brought that type of value in that moment. And so,
Well, there's a really good point there as well, and I've because on the producing end, I periodically get people reaching out to me and just saying, here's my actor info. Do you have anything casting? And just sometimes out of the blue when I'm not actually casting for anything. And occasionally I've had a conversation with someone who says, here's my headshot. Can you cast me in anything? And well, first off, that's typically, there's typically more of a, I need to cast something, so that's when I'm going to look for someone. But if I have, and this might be someone who's not in state or out of country or something, and oftentimes it'll be, well, okay, what have you done? What can you do? If we're in a position where I'm auditioning for something, that's easy. We now set up an audition, and and you audition. But if you want me to remember you, I'm not going to remember you from a headshot. I probably won't even remember you from a resume. But if you have examples of your work and I have the time to look at that example of your work and something you've done reminds me of, okay, strikes a chord, or is wow, this is really impressive, or I see this person in this type of role, they may stick in the back of my mind. So it's important to have some kind of example of what you can do. For actors who are starting out in their career, it's very difficult to get reel material, as we call it, actor reels, show reels. But get something. So yeah, stick a camera in front of yourself, write something, or find a monologue, perform it. At least have something to show of what you can do, so that when there is that casting call, nowadays, of course, often when there is the casting call, the first thing you send is your headshot, your resume, and your reel or something like it. And if you don't have a completed reel, if you have something that can, if 500 people have submitted, and of those 500 people, 300 submitted a reel, and of the reels, 10 of those have something that seems to speak to the type of character. Those are the people who are first on the list.
Yeah.
To do the audition, because they're a casting director, especially for a large project, casting directors can get tens of thousands of submissions. Wow. And they need to whittle down quickly where they pay their attention, because it takes a long time to get through all that stuff. So got to do everything in your power to make it easy on the casting people to identify what you're capable of.
Yeah, and from a nerdy tech standpoint, as the guy behind the camera with and I'm not that filmmaker. I mean, for all of those of you guys that know me out there, I'm not that person with like, yeah, I've got this camera and then I'm gonna get this other. It's like that's never been me. For obviously first and foremost for financial purposes, but I've always been a bigger believer and a bigger investor in the story and the character and the actor or actress that brings that character forward. And so, but back to the tech side, Eric, you and I are old enough to remember Wayne's World. It's the concept is, some goofy guys and they've got a show. But we're talking about the early 1990s when the concept had to be executed on, you have a studio, big camera for those of us who are here in town and remember Access Tucson. God bless Access Tucson.
Got a lot of people started. It really did.
It gave me and this will be for another video, but it had a lot to do with my start basically, you know, we all remember that you could get studio space, right?
Hmm.
Here's where I'm going with this. We all now have a portable television station.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Portable television station. You guys can, let's go through it. You can record video, you can record audio, you can create images, you can take images, you can write text. You can not only do all of that, but you can upload and distribute. You can do, like, you have a TV station literally right here if you choose to see it as such.
Hmm.
But don't tell me that you don't have any tools. If at the very least, geez, you can go to a Cricket store and get a dirt cheap plan, you still have a TV station in your pocket. So,
And you know what else? If you, I mean, in terms of just getting started, the definition of a producer is often misunderstood. A producer is the person or persons who figure out what resources are necessary to execute a project and bring them together. So if you don't have a certain skill set, or if you have a vision that takes more than one person to pull off, then you reach out to other people and try to figure out how you bring them together. Um, so in today's situation, you can't bring a bunch of people together physically, but you can bring them together online. Let's say you're an actor and you need to have something, you want to try to perform something, but you're not a great writer. Hunt for writers. See if you can find a way to get a writer to write something specifically for you, or to get permission to use something, or whatever else it is that you might need. Reach out artistically, and at least there are typically people out there who are willing to give you advice or knowledge or resources. And when you bring those resources together, you're now a producer. Even if, quite simply stated, technically, if you pull out your phone and you have your phone, you went, this is what I'm going to use to make this, that's a producer's job. You've acquired a resource and pushed and put it towards the accomplishing of a production. So think that way. Think about when we start with I don't have or I can't, we
yeah,
don't go anywhere.
yeah,
But start with, all right, how do I?
yeah.
Then we start to uh, creatively problem solve and figure out how to accomplish things. So it was with the first things that I produced. The first things that I produced were, okay, well, what do we have? Well,
Yep.
let's write something that's executable with what we have, and then let's figure out how we get the resources and the people to do it. And then you just, over time, you study the process of business and you study the process of producing. You get better and better at it, and you just get you get better at putting those pieces together, and hopefully it grows to the point where you're putting bigger and bigger productions together, and more commercially viable productions as well. But where do you start? Exactly as you said, it could be putting the phone in front of you and figuring out how to make something that is enjoyable to watch and get it to an audience, even no matter how small or large that is.
Because you created value, because you created value as an actor or an actress. And so the more, it's funny because some of these thoughts, like the following I'm about to say, I really didn't think about until we actually started recording, Eric. Here's where I'm going. All of the short films and the content that I've done, okay, one of which you were in,
I did.
that value came from um me first starting to say, okay, like, here's the story, here's a script, who's aboard. You and many others throughout the years have said, like, raise your hand, hey, I'll jump in, what can I do? And so there, you are creating the value. You are creating your value, but you got to see it through. You got to see the directing, you have to see the project through, basically.
Yeah.
But the thing is that, like, that was the on I can speak to from my side of the camera, and very firmly I can also speak to you guys' side of the camera too. We all came together to create value, but that value exists now in the form of this short film or this short film or this feature film, because a group of people came together to create value. And so, back to your original point, there is so much value that we can bring or that we can create. And I I I guess my brain had never quantified it in that way, but yeah, with regards to value, and it had, my brain had thought about, lately and recently, with regards to bringing value to an audience through film inspiration, no doubt. because what you bring to the table, many others, especially this week, have brought to the table, Eric.
Yeah.
That's been super valuable. And so I think the key thing to remember is we also, there are other people's productions, which is good, okay, but you can also control the value that you bring to this world. Actors and actresses, I really want you to know that, to understand that.
Yeah.
Filmmakers, your writers, directors,
Yeah.
DPs, editors, at all levels, understand that, know that you bring the value to the table. If no one else is, like, if you have a movie inside of here and you say, like, I need to make this thing happen, you bring the value to the table. I'm encouraging you to do it, and then I'm going to tell you, you're the one that's doing it. So you bring the value to the table. And again, I'll back to your point. Like, there's so much value in what we do. It's just in everything and how we do it. Like, is the money there? Is there a budget? And of
Yeah.
course, all these other things that come up. Well, those are things that do need to be addressed eventually. But at the core of it, there's value to be brought.